Okay guys, here's my fresh build. It's my 1980s tribute Plymouth Duster. Don't call it a two-day car now. This is a Plymouth Duster that was built specifically to represent the 1980s. I created a car with all the upgrades that guys would have wanted in the 80s. So here it is. The car came from California. It was originally white, and I did a color change on it. Changed it to another 1974 color. It's called Rally Red. So I had it painted, and then I put the stripe on. Also put a hood scoop, you can see, black hood scoop. And we're gonna go ahead and go around, take a look at the car. I wanna show you all the things from the 80s, and all the guys who grew up in the 80s are gonna enjoy this. All right, so here we go, let's take a look. Okay guys, here we go. All right, so let's start with the 80s wheels. You notice they're wide. Everybody used to have 60s in the 80s, so I put the BF Goodrich 60s in the back, 245 60/15 on weld wheels. Now early on, most of the guys in the 70s used Kragers and Keystone Classic wheels, but in the 80s everybody switched to weld wheels and center lines. You guys remember the center lines, so I went with welds. Beautiful wheel. Let's take a look at the front ones. In the front, I went to a skinny tire, because guys used to have the wide tires in the back and the skinnies in the front. So these are a 185/75/14 tire. Okay, so now we're at the back of the car. I just wanted to show you guys, I also added the air shocks. All the young guys used to put air shocks on the back, remember, and jack the car up in the back. So I put them on here as part of the 80s tribute. All right, so let's move on to the interior. All kinds of 80s stuff in here. I went with the 80s style floor mats. You can see it down here. I remember walking into a Nationwide Auto Parts and seeing these hang on the rack in the 80s. I also went with a plastic console in the middle, just like the 80s. And you notice the tapes in there, cassette tapes. That's a Grant steering wheel. I'm sure everybody remembers that from the 80s. And take a look at the stereo, it's fantastic. I found it new on eBay. It's a Kenwood AM/FM cassette, brand new. All right, let's pan to the back now and take a look. In the back, I mounted 6x9s. They were big in the 80s. All the guys had them. Those are Alpine 6x9s. Check out the windshield wipers. I had them in the garage, man, for about 25 years from the 80s. And they're factory original. Windshield wiper blades and arms. All right, let's go under the hood. Oh, by the way, I mounted a hood scoop. It's a reproduction scoop that came on, that you could actually get on a Duster in 72. It's called a dual snorkel scoop, and painted in matte black. Let's go under the hood. All right, so check this out. This is 80s too. All right, so it has you know, the traditional chrome valve cover that we all put on in the 80s. Not only the 80s, but they did that in the 70s and even in the 90s. Under the hood, everything was painted. I went with a aluminum intake manifold, something different, all right? And by the way, this is a 225/6, one of the most reliable engines ever built. But I went with a aluminum intake manifold, one barrel, believe it or not, and headers. They're Clifford headers, two headers going into one Y pipe down below, and out the back with a 2.5-inch pipe. Sounds really good. We'll check that out in a minute. All right, now to the back of the car. Notice that 80s Moroso sticker. A lot of guys had those down here in South Florida because we're close to Moroso Motorsports Park. I also restored the tail lights and the bezels. All right, got a nice chrome bumper. Restored the bumper filler. All right, so here's the trunk. Did a lot of work in the trunk also. The car was so beautiful when I picked it up. Literally no rust. Look at the quality. All right, so it was painted in here. And that's it, that's the back of the car. Now we'll hear a little rumble. Okay, so now we're at the back. I just fired it up. You can hear that exhaust, the rumble. Sounds really good, just like a V8. There's a 2.5-inch mandrel bent pipe with a Flowmaster muffler. Flowmasters came out in the 80s, by the way. All right, guys, that's it. My fresh build on a 1974 Plymouth Duster, done all 80s style. I hope you guys enjoy it.